Hey guys, it's Kay from KS Anonymous, and I am back today with another episode of r/legal advice. My landlord shut off the electricity in the middle of a heat wave. We are in New York. Electricity is included in our rent. Yesterday, the landlord put notices on our doors warning that our power consumption was unreasonable. Trying to survive 100+ degree heat in a very poorly insulated building with no central AC will do that, I guess. She threatened to suspend service temporarily if we continued. The notice started with "Attention residents," and I saw identical papers on some other doors, so I assume it was directed at all tenants. 2 hours ago, she followed through with her threat. The power is out in my apartment. The hallways and stairs are barely lit. My landlord is not answering her phone. What can I do? With the kind of person she is, I'm worried that she'll just wait for the end of the extreme heat, evade consequences by turning the power back on, and pull this crap again in the next heat wave. From the New York AG's office, habitability and repairs. Warranty of habitability. Under the warranty of habitability, tenants have the right to livable, safe, and sanitary apartment, a right that is implied in every written or oral residential lease. Any lease provision that waives this right is contrary to public policy and is therefore void. Examples of a breach of this warranty include the failure to provide heat or hot water on a regular basis, or the failure to rid an apartment of an insect infestation. Utility services only covers heat. Per rent guidelines here, your landlord is required to provide sufficient electricity for all items or services listed in your lease and to maintain a safe and habitable apartment. For example, if your lease states that the apartment is provided with an air conditioner, your landlord must provide enough power to run it. This is where you can lodge complaints, which I believe is for the utility company themselves. But you may be able to get them to come out and deal with the landlord directly. ETA, are your smoke detectors and CO2 monitor battery operated or powered by the electric outlets? Take video evidence of the power being cut, such as trying to turn on a switch, checking the shared areas for lighting, etc. Also, pull out your lease and pore over the language regarding utilities. Thank you. I will be complaining to the city. The smoke detectors have backup batteries. My landlord doesn't provide CO monitors, but the ones I bought also have backup batteries, fortunately. Then there's another area where your landlord is breaking the law. The CO monitors are their responsibility. Per this site, in all multiple dwellings, owners are required to provide and install at least one approved and operational CO alarm and SD with each dwelling unit, replace any CO alarm or SD periodically upon the expiration of its useful life, or when it has been stolen, removed, is missing, or rendered inoperable before a new tenant moves in if the prior tenant did not replace it. Ensure that the installed CO alarm is equipped with an end-of-life alarm. Provide written information to at least one adult occupant of each dwelling unit regarding the testing and maintenance of detectors, including general information concerning carbon monoxide poisoning and what to do if an alarm goes off. That CO alarms have a useful life limitation, and that the owner has the responsibility to replace such alarms upon the expiration of such useful life. Keep and provide upon request records relating to the installation and maintenance of. Record-keeping requirements are contained in sections 1201 and 1203 of Title 28 of the Rules of the City of New York. I'm assuming your refrigerator is out too if all power is out. If you have an insulin-dependent diabetic in the building, their meds need to be stored in the fridge. This is really dangerous, not to mention the price of those meds keep going up. Document the power outage. Keep the notice. If an old person died in the heat or someone's medication spoiled, there may be a cause of action, both civil and criminal here. Yep, 311. What sort of penalties could the landlord face? It depends on how they classify it, Class B or C, per this website. Class B violations, hazardous, $25 to $100 each, plus $10 per violation per day. Or Class C violations, immediately hazardous, $250 to $500 per day for each violation from and including the date the notice is posted at the building until the date of the violation is corrected, $500 to $1,000 per day for each subsequent violation at the same building that occurs within 2 consecutive calendar years, or in the case of HMC 27-2029A, hot water, during 2 consecutive periods of October 1st through May 31st, heat. Not sure if each represents one shutoff of entire building, or if each means each unit affected by shutoff, 1 citation per unit. The details in the Class C at the same building language makes me think it covers the entire entity and not per unit. Also, not sure if the OP had hot water affected. I'm pretty sure each means per tenant, not per apartment complex. That way, if an individual unit's AC was down, the landlord would still have to fix it. What sort of building is it? Brownstone? Proper separate apartments with central hallway? Make sure that she has proper certification of occupancy for the building. Many New York City landlords are illegally splitting up brownstones and other single-family residences into multiple units. The hint is that she's charging you utilities as part of rent, probably because there's not a separate meter for your room. This quickly gets into real lawyer territory, but the summary is, if it's certified for less units than she has split it into, the building is illegal and you no longer owe rent going forwards. She cannot evict you directly for non-payment. You are still a tenant, just one that does not owe rent. Her options are to fix the certificate of occupancy, which often means doing things like installing proper safety measures for that many tenants, such as fire sprinklers, safe egress, separate meters, or to end your lease in another manner. So if you have a year-long lease that you are 2 months into, you would not pay rent for the remaining 10 months, and only at the end could she begin eviction process for overstay of the lease. If you leave at the end of the lease, there's no eviction and nothing goes on your record. That said, many landlords that are willing to get into this level of crap are willing to get into even worse. False and improper evictions, unallowed entry, throwing your stuff out, turning off your utilities, all illegal, but still a pain. If you get others in your building on board, it's a lot easier as a group. Document everything about the state of the place. My landlord was similar to yours once. I moved instead of fighting it like this. Surprise, the scumbag kept my security deposit and I had to sue him to get it back. Even moving won't be low effort when you get into the worst of landlords. Contact police. This is an illegal eviction. Contact code enforcement and the fire department. A unit without electricity is not habitable. Keep that notice. You're going to need it in court pretty soon when she sues you for not paying rent because F paying rent under these circumstances. Yes, denying basic utilities is a constructive eviction, which is absolutely illegal. How is it an illegal eviction? Electricity and water are essential utilities. By cutting one off, they are effectively making the apartment useless. If an apartment does not meet the standards of habitability, then people are not supposed to live in them. If you take someone's apartment and you make it uninhabitable, then functionally their apartment has ceased to exist. Their apartment that they possessed yesterday has been taken away from them. That means they've been evicted, whether or not their stuff is still inside and their key still unlocks the door. Update: my landlord shut off the electricity in the middle of a heat wave. This happened in New York. I'd like to thank everyone who replied to that post. It was very helpful. After the post, my SO and I decided to get a hotel. When we came back this morning, the power was back on. My neighbor told me what happened. Shortly after we'd left, someone in the building called 911 because their son was showing symptoms of heat exhaustion. He's fine now, by the way. The firefighters were curious as to why the power was off. Long story short, after the kid was safe, they had a nice talk with the landlord about endangering a child's life to save some money, and she was asked to turn the power back on. The poor kid's parents have already begun complaints to the relevant authorities. I'll be meeting a lawyer tomorrow about breaking my lease. Yeah, so this one was interesting. I think the most interesting thing I got out of this was the concept of eviction, when it's like an illegal eviction, when they take away their like maybe heat or hot water, stuff like that. That's an interesting concept. I didn't really realize that's how that works. I'm really glad that OP1 has power back on in their apartment. 2, that the child that was suffering from heat exhaustion is okay, and 3, that they're, looking into breaking the lease, because that does not sound like the kind of person I'd want to be, renting from. How can you say that the bill is too much? Oh my gosh. Like, then don't include it in your rent. And that does make me think, like the other person suggested, that they're doing something that's not quite legal if they're basically telling everyone they can't be using that much power. And as the OP said, it seems that it was every tenant that received that notice and that everyone lacked the power after the crazy landlord shut off the power. So sounds like there's quite a few sketchy things going on in there. It was an interesting read. to see what's going on there. It's also really scary, the amount of things that landlords are known to do despite those things being illegal. Like, yeah, there's legal recourse you can take, but the fact that people do this in the first place is just super concerning. Anyway, that's actually going to end today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and drop a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Real quick, I'd like to show my face palmer and up patrons on the screen here. Thank you so much for supporting this channel and being a part. If you want to become a patron, I do have a link in my description box. You can check out my Patreon, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye!